always someone to fill my cup. For those that I've done wrong, for those that I've known for oh so long, I'll always hold a place in my heart for you.
Look, man, I'm talking to you. I'm just excited now, right? Because now I see the conversation going, and that's what I love. Tell me.
In Bohemian Rhapsody, Rami Malek told himself that when he started in Mr. Robot, he didn't really see, how when we start really small, we don't see any type of path being made or anything of that sort. Then we try to figure out the kinks and perks of like, okay, do we go on route A or route B? And somehow or the other, he just kept showing up and doing the work.
Right.
And it just came from like short films, from films that were more from independent filmmakers. He was never getting that feature film he wanted. And the first one he got was Bohemian Rhapsody. And it blew the records off, and now everyone, he's gotten the chance to work with Denzel. He's gotten the chance to work on a James Bond, now he's like the hot property online. So, and he started, and and I don't want to say both of theirs are kind of similar, but one of the other actors who's in the Bollywood industry, he recently is just as hyped as Rami Malek is over there, but he started with social media as to finding small acting gigs, and then from there, and it was constant failure. And you know, like in the mix, there's always one or two that do well, but it's not continuous.
Right.
So it was just like that. Some of them had that really good content in there, and some of them didn't. But then one of them kind of blew up because it was the content, it was how he approached it, and it just went forward. And I used to think that how does this really play into it? And I got approached with a book by one of my professors who loves reading books, and he told me about the book called The Secret by Rhonda Bryce. Bryce, yeah, she's like an Australian author, and she talks about how the law of attraction is something which we don't see, but if we do our duty, it will hit us back. And that's what a lot of celebrities, a lot of authors, that's what businessmen, entrepreneurs, everyone believes in, who has gotten to the point that they are at currently. Good example is Tyler Perry, who came from like an abusive family relationship. He believed in that because he felt like one day or the other, I'm going to see the light, kind of like the tale of Desperio. And I mean, you can pretty much tell how a lot of my examples are based in the entertainment zone. It's because one of my dreams is that I want to like work in there to see how do they make it, because if you look at it and you look at like, if we go back, let's say 50 years, I don't want to say 100, but 50 years before, around the 90s, it was just starting to evolve. Before that, all it is a screen being projected with all the additional ways of lighting it and the story being at the crux. That's pretty much what makes the hype about it. So it's, because as humans, stories are what make us emerge and make us want to, believe in it. So I've always wondered that what is it that they have to do that makes the business so fascinating, or make all the headlights and storms all amazing. So, that's been one of my, the design and entertainment industry is something that I've been looking to get into. I know that was a really weird introduction because I didn't say who I was and what I have been.
No, that is totally fine, because, the crazy part about it is I don't believe in coincidences. I believe everything happens for a reason. I had a conversation with someone last week, and just to add to what you're saying about the secret and things like that, manifesting yourself in this world. This woman, she opened my mind to another possibility, something that I've been tinkering around with, and I just never really put my finger on with it. It was the unconscious mind and the connection to infinite energy. So when we talk about the secret, we have to talk about energy and how it all works together, right? Whatever you put out is what you're putting back in. So when we talk about actors and the vision that they have about a movie or a character that they're hired to play, you have to think about the vision that the producer had for this individual and the way that they perceive it, right? So now the energy is transferred.
Yeah.
And in between that, now, in order for and this is just a theory, right? This is just a theory. In order for the actor to really truly grasp what that looks like, it has to tap into another sort of energy, right? And the vibration that you give off. So if they're playing a villain, you have to put off a villainous vibration, right? A different frequency.
And the biopics are even harder because that guy's living, and it could be dead or alive, but you have to understand their body language. You have to understand how they are, even though you have your own identity of yourself. Trying to enact someone else is 10 times harder than picking a fictional character, because you're creating it. You're creating things that also is work, but there's a little bit of flexibility because you can string the creativity to endless boundaries. But when it comes to like the new film that came out this like Friday, The King Richard, which is based on Venus and Serena Williams' dad, for Will Smith to portray that, I can't imagine how many photos of what the tennis players themselves, Venus and Serena Williams, had told him about, how he had to kind of gather all that and try to really put that in a way where he's not making it feel like it's King Smith. Sometimes that gets out of the way, that, oh, wait, I'm not Will, I'm Richard. So it's that it's just it's funny that I used to I think I know I since you went a little bit on like how I give the examples of law of attraction and everything, I've always been someone who I had seen the hints of what I've been interested in and things that I've left and things that I've thought. You know how we get those feelings that because we did this, we're stupid, or because we did that, this is why this happened.
Yes.
And then you start to realize that that's not really why that happened, and it's that this is who you are and this is something you like. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. That's going to kind of push you in a different direction. So they've been tools and techniques that I've been grateful for to receive at such an early age, that I was able to implement it at my pace. And I think how I've so I guess to give like a small background of me is, so I turned 21 this year in July, and so my whole life has mostly been in academia and university life. So I recently just started working in the industry at a consulting company. And when I went every school year that I went through, the university that I just finished, I've always had to go through changes, but a lot of them were not picking things that I liked that I dropped. And right now in November, so I don't know if you've heard about the Festival of Lights, the Diwali. So it's a huge occasion for Hindu culture. It's based on the Ramayana story, where the one of the gods who's named Krishna, who's in the form of Ram, defeats the demon called Ravan and brings his wife and brother Lakshman and Sita to Arodhya, and they celebrate that occasionous festival. And it's usually for a week, but the main day was on, if I'm not wrong, it was on November 4th, the Thursday that just passed.
Okay.
And and I mean that it's kind of like the Christmas version of Hindus, pretty much. So that's, I think after that, I had I was just starting my new position. We were going through the general training that everyone goes through when they start a new position. And then after I started, there were things that still kept coming that I didn't know why I left. And I decided that since I've gone through this whole journey and the pandemic, everyone's have and with the pandemic being a barrier that everyone has had to go through, I've also learned along the way some things that I wouldn't have learned before the pandemic. And I thought since it's kind of coming to its conclusion with everyone, going back in person slowly and things starting to boom up next year in Jan, I this is the last 2 weeks, it's kind of been like changing moments for me, kind of picking things and implementing them as well. Picking them and saying I'm going to do it is a different story to get that motivation, and to actually doing it is another discipline.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, a lot of those I've been trying to do, and I think it's been good, in terms of I've seen a different version of me wanting to achieve, and things that I was into, I have started to enjoy more, and things that I'm looking forward to, I'm looking to go towards that. I have my list of dreams and goals are like a Santa's list, which cannot be buyable. These are things.
I understand. I
um,
understand that.
and the thing is, once you achieve that, you don't know how big of the list gets. That's the other thing.
That's very
uh,
true. That's very
um,
true. I've started my company, right? And when I started it, I knew exactly what I was called to do in that moment. I had no idea, right? I had this clear vision in my head, and I honestly believe that's where it starts. The law of attraction, right? You're sometimes the path leading to what you're supposed to do in this life has breadcrumbs on it. And somehow, some way, they eventually formed a picture, but it takes so much of getting there, right? And I don't think a lot of people really understand that there's a lot of sacrifices. And I am at all because you found out what you were supposed to do at such an early age. And it, like you said, it's just one of those things that pulled you in that direction, right? And it's constantly pulling you. And to me, that's, I don't know, it's an indescribable feeling, right? It's just, you don't know where this road is going to leave you. And it's scary as hell. It's scary as hell, right? Because there's some things that you have to go through in order to become the individual that you see up here. Like, we have the vision, but the question is, are we truly prepared for that vision? And I think along the way, that vision gives you exactly what you need in order for you to be able to accept it. It turns you to that individual, right? When we talk about entrepreneurs and, the actors, things like that, and the things that they have to go through, the sacrifice, I think that same law still applies to us, right?
Yeah, everyone's human. A lot of folks think that they are a robot, but they're not.
Yeah.
Some people make them work themselves as that, and then the burnout phase comes. And I got encountered. So I have a couple. Well, I'm trying to remember, who did it come. It might have been either me, or it might have been one of my family members, or my younger brother. But one, I don't remember who asked me the question. But they said that you can either make life complicated for yourself, or you can look at it from the easy view, because there's so many things. There's some folks that are high achievers that they want to achieve a lot, like business mindset or whatnot, or wherever they want to go. Like I want to go to the entertainment industry, or someone wants to go to the wants to go creating their own startup. Then you have like your finances you have to do. Then you have like all like the daily routines. Whether you work out or you do a certain discipline, like personal wise, to kind of rejuvenate yourself. You can pile as much as work as you want. You can either look at it in the sense of, man, it's never gonna work, it's never gonna happen, or in that it's just always what is the word I'm gonna use? Just kind of like, I'm trying to remember what was I trying to say. The, the I think I lost the thought, but yeah, you can either make it extremely easy for yourself by putting the exact same amount of work and saying that, oh, it'll happen, maybe not today, maybe the next week, maybe the next 2 weeks, because what I feel like is the day we were born, we had an indefinite timeline built for us, already built for us from the day we were born. Now, there is flexibility. It's kind of like a DNA. You can put things that you're interested in and take action towards it. But there's some things that are just going to occur at a certain time because you're going to be ready for it at that time only.
Right.
And I've seen this very continuously happen to me all the time. Some folks, for them, planning it out helps. For me, it's always been the natural essence of nature taking its effect.
Yeah.
And whether it's a trip or it's when I'm going to be finishing the, there's some people who never finish school, and
Right.
they finish it later. When I started following into the breathing exercises, a lot of folks find it at the age of 50. I started in the summer of 7th grade. I was meant to start it over there because somewhere or the other, the disciplines caught on to me, and I was first doing self-learning myself, and then from there, I joined a community called Art of Living, which is a lot of that story. Which is still going on. I've still been doing that. But there was a reason why it started that time and not now. So same thing with the degree. So I don't know if you've heard, but I don't know if you know about the university VCU, but it's in downtown Richmond, Virginia Commonwealth University, and usually degrees are usually around 4 years, and I finished mine in 3 years. That was nature's cause. So for the folks that are out there thinking that, things are harmful, things are not happening, it's the rise and fall that we all have to go through, whether or not we like it. We have up moments, we have down moments. There's nothing we can do we just have to know how to sustain that. We all have people we don't want to be around. We just want to just say it to their faces and then just end it. But is that the right way to go? If you can learn to go, it's like a stock market. You see companies go up all of a sudden, then you see them in their deepest downfall. Mm-hmm. So it's not, so if you have things that make you do who you are, don't end up leaving them just because you think that you either had a trauma based on that, or someone says that, because of that, that's why you don't get this. That's not the reason. Because I'm pretty sure if it was, everyone wouldn't be doing that. They wouldn't be doing what they like the best.
Right.
So, and I've been through that. I've experienced that, and I've actually reason I can say that is I don't want to say couch potato, but I was kind of didn't have to. Let's just say I never used to be physically fit. Let's put it like that. During my kid years, and that's what it depends from kid to kid. Who wants to do it, who doesn't like it. Mm-hmm. And once I entered high school, I ended up having this, craze for it all of a sudden. Just wanted to do just working out and like within constraints. And I kept doing it. I kept enjoying it, and I was doing my other things as well. And kind of like, that I didn't know what type of lifestyle I wanted to live at the age of 13. Me thinking of that.
Right.
So once I saw myself do things in high school, I was like, this is kind of what I want to do. Have things that I want to go towards, and I didn't know what industry. The whole storytelling and entertainment thing only hit to me once I was in VCU. Before that, I didn't have a clue because I was trying to find the answers. But what we can say is that there were some folks who encountered my life, which made an impact. The people I was around, they were good people even that were supporting my cause. But I always used to get a, I always used to use, from what I used to interpret at that age, I used to think that my being of working out, that everyone's having a problem. Even though my family didn't really care, they were supporting that. You're doing an amazing thing. Just the people around me made me feel like, my image is kind of like, not like kind. You can say image, but being judged was, just like,
Yes.
and I think after one point, once high school started to end, I kind of just like let it go, and I said, you know what, let me just try to go on the other side and see how maybe I might like that. Maybe it was just a phase that I went through. I found different answers. Obviously you enjoy the time that you're in. If you leave it for a cause. And I started to, look at other things and be like, do I really like that? And it gave me a good sense of, because I did go work out crazy at one point with it but it gave me a sense of how to keep a balance, and where you have to know that things that you like and things that are important, you have to keep it a constant balance. Because if you do one or more of the both, the seesaw breaks. And if you break the seesaw, it becomes hard to heal it. So I mean, sometimes things scatter and one goes on the other side. That's fine. That happens with all of us. No one is able to make it perfectly stable 50% half of the time, because one thing goes on the other things on the other. And most of the time that's how it's meant to happen. But
Yeah, that's true. And I'm listening to it, and I if you don't mind, because I believe that you had to experience some things in order to get there, to have that sort of understanding. Because sometimes people can figure it out, but I'm loving what you're saying, because I hear the story behind it, right? You know what I'm saying? How it teeter-totters on one side, and how sometimes things don't work out. And I believe that's part, as you just said, and I totally agree. You have to, these things do happen. And I believe it's part of the process of you becoming who you're supposed to be, right? And I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. It's the journey of getting there. It's the figuring that part out. So let's go back to those moments where you actually what sort of incidents happened to help you open up your mind to what was going on to with you, and having that understanding.
During my college years or school years, either one.
Either which one you want to jump into.
I don't. Okay. So incidents, meaning it could be bad or good, right? From whatever. I guess there are days where we don't notice, and this is also something I found out at work, anywhere, any type of thing you're experimenting on or researching, things that the work that you think you did amazing on, that you broke the ground, people hate it.
Yes.
But the days where you're like, I don't know, it was okay, people love that. And that is something I've seen constantly, and this has happened to me as well, happen all the time. it's like there's no, like I've heard folks being like, I follow schedule, I follow this plan or this agenda. And I used to think that, is it all about writing an agenda? Is it this slang that we just use constantly? And after getting to like a bit of deep research, because a lot of my college time was all about researching the things of why was this happening? Was there a specific reason? And I was getting those answers, fortunately, you know, from my professors, from my mentors, the secret book, the power of positive thinking. And I slowly started to realize that the word agenda, schedule, planner, workflow, well, like, uh, what's the name of that? Uh, Kanban, all ways of managing work.
Yeah.
It all led to time management. There was no sense, there was no, it all led to that. If you knew how to do things in a chronicle order, you were pretty much set. And these verbiages that we use and we try to surround the main idea around that, there's several associated terms for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing that's applied everywhere else. Whether it's someone that, and it's like the dictionary is so big, but you have to conduce it to what you think is right for you. I think that's what it came down to. And it took, and I think the due to my college experience, it gave me that realization that you have to, it's like a slow process, kind of like how you're cooking dinner. Why is it that, a lot of the times when someone's hungry, extremely hungry, let's take an example. There's someone, when you're at a restaurant, you're coming out of office and you're extremely hungry, and we all know that feeling when we're on an empty when we're on an empty stomach. And why is it that when the chef says it's going to take 30 minutes, you might as well order an appetizer on the side? Because if he overcooks it, he's going to burn the dish, and you're not going to want to eat that. If he undercooks it, it's going to feel like the sauce is still cold, or the vegetables, or they were a little bit, they weren't as grilled as properly, or the meat or whatever. The perfect balance is to do. That's why the chef is not doing all the other duties. There are other people doing it. He's the one managing it. And just for managing everything, there's a central position for that. Product management, chefs, leaders. Management is something that we as folks have, it's been really hard for us to figure that out, because we have so many things wanting to manage. And so that it's that constant state of pressure, the management wise, that we tend to fall on things, or we tend to leave things the way it is, and and then emotions come into it, and then there's like a bunch of piles. It's like a smoothie shake where you try to blend it all up and try to sip it every day, and eventually you get tired of it, and you just take something out, and you'd be like, maybe it was that, and then you keep on trying to change the ingredients. And I've always looked at it as, I used to look at it as, you're always sipping a smoothie and throwing away the things that you don't think would need, and you're always making a new one. But that's not the way to look at it now. That was not the way to look at it for me at that point. And I found out that it was better to look at it as cooking food, just like your dinner process, because you're doing one step at a time, and you're focusing on what's important now. Because all the other condiments, like you getting up, you working out, those are things of what's making you get to the goal, to that final dish. That, and that's applicable everywhere. And that was something which I felt like maybe I was meant to understand doing my college experience versus my high school, because I kept trying to do so many things in terms of having to. It was the whole management part, not in terms of time wise, but in terms of just trying to manage the folks around me telling me who I am. You know, kind of pointing fingers saying that you're in this state and you should be doing this and not this. Even though I was doing that thing, but I found this more compelling to me as my passion project, the judgment came. And you know, if you know how to manage yourself in terms of whether it's emotional wise or time wise or whatever it is, whatever you're encountering, and you know, you not having that boundary where you're constantly having someone to compare against, you can fly with colors no matter what's against your wall, because no matter who it is, you know how to fake it till you make it. Kind of the term. And I think fall. The one that I really resonate with is fall forward, because when you fall forward, you at least hit your head so you know where you're going from there.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise, when you're falling back, there's a cushion. You know, you're there's a support system back there where you're like, oh, okay, I can, you know, I'm good. I didn't have to fall forward because it had been bloody. You know, once it gets bloody, that's when you start to realize what's the next step. And the same thing with the injuries. When we injure a hand, we make sure, okay, we don't do that because we've had experience with that being injured. So it's an end. Life itself, people think there's an equation, but it's an endless possibilities of like a food web. Right. It's not 1 + 2 = 3. I'm pretty, because if it was that, I'm pretty sure it would have been much more easier for everyone else if 2 + 1 = 3. But it doesn't.
I think a lot of things with the law of attraction, what people don't understand, you know, the importance of keeping a clear vision as well, you know, and understand, just like you said, you know, 1 + 1 = 3. So I was watching Will Smith, and he said something that really totally rang to me. But of course, a lot of people that I listen to, they do that as well. He goes, you know, 1 + 1 can equal whatever the fuck I want it to be, right? And I was like, okay, I see that. So it was like yourself. It was like opening up my mind to those infinite possibilities or the next possibility, right? I hadn't even explored the infinite at that moment. I'm still teeter-tottering around the edge trying to make sense of everything else. And, you know, I love that quote I love that saying that you said, you know, when you fall down, make sure you fall forward. At least that way you can see where you're going. And I would like to add to that as well. You know, something that I heard from another motivational speaker. He said, when you fall down, make sure when you fall, you land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. Right? So something to add to it, you know what I'm saying? Just to kind of expand your thinking a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Or however it goes. And then to add to the one that you said before, you know, and this comes from another quote that I heard, and all of these little things that kind of, I'm listening to you and how everything kind of builds itself up on it, right? You know, this guy says, what did he say? He goes, you have to be willing at any moment to give up who you are for who you will become. But actually, he said, you have to be willing to, at any moment, to sacrifice who you are for who you're willing to become, right? And so all of these different quotes, and I'm listening, I'm going, man, how that just weaves everything else, and how it says the same thing. And depending on who's reading it, their perception of it can be something totally different. Right? And it's like, man, you know, I look at that, and now, you know, like I said, here lately, the last week or so, I've been exploring the unconscious mind and understanding the infinite possibilities. So, you know, and it goes things I've seen as well, things I've done, things that have happened to me, right? I've been able to look at it and I go, wow, who would have ever thought, I started a nonprofit and how it manifested itself, right? I'm doing something that no one ever thought that was even possible. I did grief support for men. Everybody told me I would fail. I didn't care. I was like, it doesn't matter what you say. I just know that it's supposed to work out. And that was my thought pattern. I just know it's supposed to work out. I don't know how it's supposed to work out. Lord knows I don't have a blueprint, but I just knew to follow that path, right? It kind of takes you where it needs to go. And
that word you said, blueprint, that is something which I hear when there are folks that are afraid of taking the risk, because the blueprint is created by the experience you get and what you learn. It's not that the opportunity, you have to work towards either learning the skills so you can get that experience, because that's how you create the blueprint. Mm-hmm. How else do you think? And it comes with failing at a cost as well, because how else do you think folks like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, Andy Puddicombe, who is the CEO, who is the founder of Headspace. How did they do? I mean, they started just like us, I'm pretty sure, with the basic concept. I mean, because if they're human, the same time we're human, all they did was they put belief on their faith, and they didn't let anything else bog them down. Because I heard Jeff Bezos talk about that. People look at the really amazing sides of Amazon, that they've done this, they've done Prime, what else is there left? But they said it came at a cost of many brainstorming sessions for us to figure this out. It didn't come that easy for us to come up with Prime. And he said the funniest thing was we would only get those ideas for Prime and everything at a very odd location during our trips.
Yes. During
our trips when we're away from the office. We think we're going to get the ideas in the office, but it's the work that happens. It's the content and work that happens in the office, but the ideas that come out from the trips and the nature and the family connections. So, I was like, that is, because this is like a very, very basic example. People who go on hiking trails understand the best. People who like outdoor natures. I mean, I don't know if you watch National Geographic as much, but folks that tend to be outdoor adventurers, rock climbing and everything, they can definitely relate to this, because the best view comes after the hardest climb.
Yes. There you go.
You will not get the best view from walking a couple of steps. You have to work to get to the mountain. Just like everyone, just like the folks, just like I know there were a couple of folks who were blind that even reached Mount Everest, which is a goal itself. Mm-hmm. But that's to be said that you only get the best view once you've done the hardest climb.
Yeah, it's having faith though. And that's the key to it. And it was something that I had to learn too, because when I first started my company, there was been many failures, right? But now if we look at it in a different perspective, I was excited for the failures because I looked at it as my mountain. I knew that this was my mountain, and I'm the only person that can climb this mountain. But the curious part was, what happens when I get to the top? What's on the other side? Because I only have a two-dimensional view. I don't know what's on the other side of this mountain. I don't know how high it is because I can't see the top. But it was something about it that really excited me to take the next steps, no matter what, right? And if we look at it in a real person analogy, when you're walking that path, you get hit with everything. I call those the loose rocks that fall off. They may be a friend, they may be a family member that's not going to be on your journey for long, right? Maybe that's them breaking off and following their own path. So I had to learn different things. When we talk about the law of attraction, I had to learn so many different things to accept it. And a lot of it, the first primary thing was I need to create myself some discipline, habits that will help me get to where I need to get to. So if that meant that I had to take 3 months to develop these habits, I did it. Then I had to set a clear vision for myself. And it was impossible. And I said, well, no matter what, I have to have faith that everything is going to work out. So that's why I started that journey on the mountain. The path isn't clear, right? It's not clear, but you know exactly what you need to do. And I honestly believe as you're climbing this mountain, there's certain things, certain people that are coming along to pass off information to you, and your job is to give information to them. And their job is to take that information somewhere else. Like we're carriers of this information that we gather along. And so you take that information, you apply it, and then you take the next step. Eventually, when you look back on everything that has gone, it creates this beautiful story. It creates the journey of who you are, the different versions that you're going to encounter. And with the expectation of accomplishment, right? You have to be expecting it. You have to be like, look, I'm going to do this no matter what. I expect to do it. And I think a lot of that expectation comes from a lot of doubt too. A lot of you telling, because I have to say, man, I told myself, I said, man, this is impossible. 6 months into it, I'm trying to do all of these things. I almost gave up hope, right? But then there was something that's saying, no, we have to go this way. Lost you. Up there you are. Yeah, and it's something that said, hey, we have to go this way, right? And I went, no, I want to go this way. It was like I fought with myself so long until I realized that it was bigger than me. See, that whole blueprint, it's been bigger than me. And I realized that I'm just a small participant in this blueprint.
Yeah, so this gets it's like kind of like how companies like Amazon Web Services operate in cloud.
Yes.
It's like a region and many it's like the blueprint, when you're on a project, like there's a project, this project you want to work on. They're looking for other smaller blueprints to help pitch that, because in order to make that blueprint successful, there needs to be smaller everything. That's why I've always been emphasized in my life that don't look forward to the big thing. Learn from the other things that you failed from, but focus on the little things, because those little things grow to big. But it's so hard to believe that, because if you tell a kid that here's the thing you have to build right now, and it's right now, and you tell them it's small or anything, they won't mind hesitating building that. But if you tell an adult that here's the small thing, make these small dishes, and then after that you try to exaggerate it, then we can make these bigger dishes, more authentic in cuisine. But he's like, first make this, and we try to look forward, because we've always been once we are out of the academia career, we've always been told to look towards our dreams, but in order to achieve them, you have to start from the basics, from the fundamentals.
Yeah, well, you gotta have your basic ingredients, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No one says go out there and you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna give you nothing, and I want you to cook a breakfast.
It's
right?
like how?
Yeah, how am I supposed to cook this breakfast? So that's for me, that was the challenge. And that's what it had been, that's what it was like. It was like, hey, someone looked at me and said, I want a full gourmet breakfast. And I'm not going to give you anything, but I want you to figure it out. So now if you look at it in that concept, okay, what do you want in your breakfast? That's the first thing you got to figure out, right? You know what I'm saying? What do you want? If you want eggs, okay, well, we have to go find some eggs. And I believe the journey into finding those eggs is the beginning part of finding that first ingredient, right? It's the path. It's the, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, if it's not right here, where you have to go? You have to go find somewhere where there's chickens or some sort of bird, right? So what do you look? Do you look on the ground or do you look in the tree? Do you keep walking till you find a chicken coop? What are the possibilities of you finding that chicken coop and having you go back and having to look in the tree for a bird?
And that's the same, and that's the same thing. And that, you know, a lot of, and you know, this is something this is something I've also heard about and noticed, where men, they can only focus at one thing at a time. If they're focusing on the cooking the food, they will perfect that, and then they'll focus on what your next task is.
Right.
The woman, since they've been brought up to teach the kids and do this and cook and everything, they've always understood that it's a multitasker is good at its own cost, but that's why they pick small portions of doing everything, and that makes the bigger picture. So everyone's finding that everyone's reaching that end goal all the time, and that's what. And no one is different than anyone else, because everyone is going through the same problem you might be experiencing that you don't even know about. Because this whole image perspective, which kind of I have its own thoughts and beliefs on, that's what makes people think that their life is so much perfect. You know, they have nothing worrying about them. But I mean, when you present a cake, it looks so gorgeous from the outside. There's two ways of saying it. When you present a cake, it looks so gorgeous from the outside, but when you cut it, it's always black or white. And everything that looks all sparkly from the outside doesn't look all sparkly from the inside, what happens within their house, you know? And that's why I tend to tell folks that you should be 10 times grateful for the things you have now, because if you don't even have those, like the food, the family, the shelter, the house, then you can't even go first distance. Some people just struggle to get that itself, you know, to get that itself back.
Yeah.
So and I've seen that. I've had a lot of folks that I've folks that I've met along the way who have, you know, they have a tight deadline and things look like impossible, you know. So for me, one of the things that I do is I've seen folks, they'll write things that they're grateful for, 5 things every day, 10 things every day, 15 things, you know, small context, small words. And I'll see, and for me, I just try to tell myself in my head about the things that I'm grateful for and just sleep it to rest, so that the next day I do the exact same thing. Because there is a saying, but I'm not going to say it, because folks who do it know what it is already. So it's better if you start taking the action towards it than me telling you what the purpose is.
No, I totally agree. Hard work, man. You know, like this, when you're doing something like this, just like, and I love this, the way that the conversation is going, because it really opens up the doors for people to understand this journey of creation is hard work. It's a lot of discipline. And it's easy to fall off because it's easy to get discouraged. If you're not your number one cheerleader and you're expecting someone else to be in your corner, you're setting yourself up for, in a lot of cases, disappointment, right? Because, and I had to learn this too, and I also, you know, preach this to other people. You know, when you're going through a door, Don't expect other people to go through a door that's meant for you. It's something that you have to go through and gather all of these beautiful things from out of there and come back to be able to help the next person. And I honestly believe, like, and people, I believe and I see it. So I see so many people get upset. Why this person don't see the way I do, or why can't this person just do this, that, and other? And I look at them, I go, the funny part about it is that, have you ever thought that maybe their journey, they've gone as far as they can with you? The reason why they cannot go through that door is because they don't see it. You're the only one that see it. So stop expecting others to come through the door with you. Be brave enough, have the courage and the discipline, because before you got there, you've gathered all of these things. You have all of this knowledge already sitting here because you've had to walk the path to get to that door. And we become complacent with the people that are around us, because the people that are around us, if they're not trying to propel us forward, they're happy with us going forward, but they want us to come back. You can't go too far with them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where people often get caught up. Another speaker, I said, and I live by this as well. He said, you know what? Why is it my fault that I don't want to be around average? I wanted something better in life, but the friends that I was with didn't want it. And they was mad because I cut them off. Right? He goes, I don't understand. If I want something better for myself and you don't, why can't I go get mine? Why can't I go and go after the dreams and the goals and things that I have? Why can I not do that just because it doesn't suit you? See, right? And it goes back to the world, right? Like, we are all born with something inside of us, and it takes a little bit to understand the blueprint, and it takes a lot of work to want to see that blueprint build it, manifest itself into this world. A brick just wasn't. It was thought of one day, and someone scrounged around and had an idea and said, "I'm going to do this," and it took them, 5,000 times. And it was the 5,001 time that they figured out how to make the brick.
From the brick concept, Will Smith himself says this, that when he was in his early days, known as the Fresh Prince, as we all know of his of his early days, I didn't even know he used to sing. I found out it was like 5 years ago when I was going through my dad's CD case and I saw Big Willie Style. That's a different story. But,
yes, I was around.
But the fresh he said his dad, since he was from like a military background, always used to be really strict. And one day he told his sons to make a wall, right? And he used to be like, "We've been putting bricks. What's the point of it?" And this same concept, I felt like he saw in the film The Karate Kid, which he made his son Jaden Smith do, which is one brick at a time makes your wall as high as you want it to be, because you're focusing on making that one brick perfect enough stack that no one can break it, not even a rhino.
Yes.
And the same concept is in the film The Karate Kid, where Jackie Chan is making Jaden Smith put the jacket and then take it off. Jacket, take it off. And those are very basic. And he's like, and I think at one point he was pretty irritated as the character and said, "I'm leaving." And Jackie Chan started showing the moves and he's like, Kung Fu is in everything. Taekwondo is in everything. All things are related to nature and life because that's what we're born out of. We are creatures just like animals that have evolved as humans, and we think at a much different level. And this this whole perspective on like structure, or just how does this work in terms of like, if we have a structured layout, a layout of how we do things, or long-term goals, and kind of just having everything in place at 5 to 5:30 p.m. we're just going to be doing this, or from this to this we're going to be doing that. We can follow it, but after a certain point it breaks. Why does it break? Because it's good to know what you need to accomplish for the day, obviously, but to have it structured, you sometimes want to twist it. You want to put a little, when you see if you keep having PB&J every day, after one point, you're going to trash it. You're going to trash it.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you just want to put a tomato sauce, or you just want to yank sprinkles on there. So, we want different things to happen. Everyone wants their story. So structure is not going to give you that. It's patience, my friend. And this is I don't know, there's because Will Smith, when he was preparing for his role, Ali, when he was playing the role of Muhammad Ali, he mentioned that if you were to get two men on the treadmill, and he was saying it from his context, the man who's willing to keep on running on the treadmill forever, even if he's exhausted, are the ones who progress further. Is very much true to the fact that the work, the time, the people around you, you can control. But the luck, that is not in your hands as much as you think it is. Because the visual picture of folks judging you is, think of it like those puppet plays, right? People like who are playing around with those strings.
Yeah.
Accept no one's definition of your life and define yourself instead is something that took me a really long time to understand. And if you to visually help folks understand what I'm saying, it's like you are the puppet to them when you're allowing them to make the definition for you. So you might as well define yourself and let go of the strings, so they're not having to play around with you as like a puppet toy.
Yeah, it's freeing your mind from the mental slavery of I can't and impossible, and opening your mind to,
because even Mission Impossible ends up becoming possible.
I like that because it really does, right? Because when we first start this life, man, I'm right there with you. I do believe our paths are laid out, and it's the path that you walk. And sometimes, it was something that was my curious, that set me apart. Well, as far as the way I thought about it, I was curious about it. Like, is this, this life that I've lived? My main question was, why am I still here? After so much, why am I still here? And I began to get those answers, right? And again, that's when everything opened up, because I never looked at it that way. And I was going, well, Jude, it's just like you said with the PB&J, right? How many times do I have to have PB&J because until I go, you know what? I think today I want cereal. You have to get tired of something in order to want something new. Now, if we look at that in a life scenario, when a person is searching for success, so to speak, right? And we can unfold that on so many levels, so many different levels, right? Because we can look at it from, the sideways, the up and downs, the roller coasters and stuff that goes like that. I look at it that way. I go, okay, I'm tired of, say for instance, I'm tired of being in an abusive relationship, right? So you can only have that but so many times till you go, you know what? At some point, I need to make a choice because I want something better for myself, something that's healthier. And I, being a personal trainer, I look at it in food too, like, you know, because being an ex-bodybuilder, I have to look at it and go, well, there was a point in time where I ate 8 to 12 meals of the same thing every day for months out of the year, right? And I was happy when I was able to get my piece of cake. Something that small. I was like, the cake looks real good. And there's been times during training when I was going, you know what? That burger, those ribs, those fries, and that milkshake look really good right now. It was that I needed that change up. So now when I look at the life story, you know what I'm saying? And I hear the stories of people and I go, I get it now. I understand. So what it does is that in silence, I become their cheerleader because I can see their journey and I understand. Maybe I understand a little bit more than they do, but I also understand that they will figure it out along the way if they keep walking that path. And it's what I see in their eyes is determination. I see the blueprint that they have up here because that's where their main focus is, right? I have to do this because now it's a burden.
Yeah, because the memories.
Yeah.
Because it's the memories that we have that make it long lasting.
Yes.
And whether it was the cheat meal we had, even though we were supposed to follow the dietitian's plan, or whether it's we were supposed to go prepare for the test, but we ended up watching the film instead because of not chilling out, or we went to the in 7 p.m. in the night we went to an ice cream shop because we didn't feel like having the homemade food, homemade meal. You know, these are things that we're gonna remember. And you know, for folks that are the high achievers who are driven, that want to do things, your chance will come if it's meant to. You will get a chance to prove your spotlight like everyone else does. Everyone has, I like to look at it, everyone has a spotlight at every age. They all get their spotlight. Everyone think, you know, and I can promise you, there might not be the thing that you're looking for right now, but it will be something that you don't even know of. Because I've noticed that the things that happen are for a reason, and they're meant for you to become a better person. So you know, that's it doesn't get any simpler than that, because you know, when you were in school, you got your spotlight, whether you were up on stage, you got your spotlight in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s. They might be different when you're in your 50s, but there's still a spotlight, you know. You went on a vacation. Those are all it's how you think of it. You know, you will get your professional career spotlights, you will get your personal career spotlights, but you have to be willing. You have to be willing to be patient enough to reach those, because if you tend to rush it, they won't come out as cooked as you thought it would be. So it's very it's a never stop learning, because life never stops teaching type of a scenario.
That's very, very true. Now, how can people get a hold of you, man? I love this conversation. I would love to, you know what I'm saying, do a part 2 and just explore all these different ways, man, you know, because I love intellectual conversations. I love your analogies and the understanding that you have as well. And I just see you doing big things, you know, and again, just like we've talked about before, I can see the blueprint in your face, and that's a beautiful, to me, that's beautiful, right? Because I can see it. And I'm just going, yeah, it makes me excited to see where you go. I mean, you're 21, so you're still young. And man, I'm 26 years older than you. And it's taken me this long to figure out my blueprint, right? And then it took me a little bit longer to go, I am going to do this. And I'm looking at you and I'm looking at myself and I'm going, I see it. I'm excited.
It's like, a lot of the folks, I had one individual, he texted me, random person. I don't know how he got a hold of my number, because it might have been the social media context. And he said, I listened to one of your shows and it inspired me to change just from what you've said.
Mhm.
And not did that only touch me, but that one made me think that, where will I go with this? And sometimes the karma has its best advice. Yeah, I didn't think about it as much as I was going to, but it's you know if you're humble or willing to help some other folks, it just hits you 10 times more to the things that you want to reach faster.
Yeah.
And I think the folks that want to reach me, they can find me on LinkedIn, they can find me on Reddit, they can find me on Instagram, but I'm not as active on there as much. I have a couple of content related to 3G, related to photos that I've created myself, and I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. But keep striving, keep moving, keep juggling, keep falling forward, because it's you're always the word learning is never going to go away in your life. Even the next soul you live here, the next 100 souls you live over here, it's never going to stop. Because what I've noticed is some folks who go in the meditation now, they've said themselves that it feels like it took me 10 souls to get here to meditate, because of the amount of experience I've had to go. And they can feel it. Some of them can actually feel it. And they said, you should be lucky enough that you're getting all the answers at an age of this, when folks don't find it at the age of 50. They said, and it makes me feel even more proud of the fact of things that I've come to obstacle with, because maybe it was meant to happen that way.
I'm right there with you. Look, man, it's been an honor. I love this conversation, and anybody else out there, I hope you guys are listening and talking, and listen to what we're saying and picking up those little things, that knowledge that's been spread around, especially if you're someone who is striving to reach a goal. You may be to a point in your life to where you're feeling like you want to give up, but don't give up. There's something on the other side, which leads me to this quote. And, if you can dissect this, use it however you want to. And the quote goes, whenever you're climbing the hill, always remember the wolf at the top of the hill is never as hungry as the wolf on the bottom of the hill. You have to decide which wolf you want to be, and then strive to make it exactly what you want out of this life, because anything is possible if you let your mind take you there and you're willing to pull in the word. Now, with that being said, I want to say, man, thank you again for being on. And for everyone who's listening, all of his links will be down below. You know how to get a hold of. Oh, before we get off, what's the name of your show?
Oh yeah, the name of my show is called the Himanish Goel Show. No, sorry. Tonight Show with Himanish. My bad. Tonight Show with Himanish. I got confused with someone else's show, but the name of my podcast show is Tonight Show with Himanish. Yes.
Okay. And where can people find that at?
They can find it on Anchor. They can find it on Apple Podcasts. They can find it on Spotify. I don't know about Google Podcasts. If you guys can find it, let me know.
Okay.
I don't know about that. Because I saw it and they're like, yeah, it's in process of uploading, and I'm like, yeah, I'll look at it later, and that never happened. So if you guys know about it, let me know, so then I can put it on my list that is out the way. But I kind of let it do its own. And this is something which, when you mentioned the wolf quote, every motivational quote, any quote you take, they all have like one message, which is just do it, which is what Nike emphasis on. very highly, because it really comes down to those 3 words, that if you want to do something, if you want change, if you want this, if you want that, you just have to do it. There's no other like ifs and buts. Once the ifs and buts come, you go in a much more different tangent of procrastination. So I mean, I wish I had owned the slogan of just do it, but unfortunately Nike has patents all over it. So and they've done a very well job showing that in the athletic world. So I'll let them keep that.
All right. So with that being said, everyone who's watching, his links will be down below. Please reach out to him or check out his show. He's very intelligent. I love the conversation that we had today. And I may be able to talk to him part 2, but until that time, thank you for enjoying another episode of Memories of Us. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, you guys keep your head up. Love you and stay blessed. Stay on your path. Love you, and I'll see you later.